Here are some hidden secrets that Disney just doesn't want to reveal. Just wait until you find out the reason why Disney has such high-powered vacuums. Number 10. Security. The happiest place on Earth is full of rides, characters, and security. Security measures are all over the park, but you can't see most of them. Obviously, certain measures are in plain sight, such as metal detectors and bag checks at park entrances, but the rest are a little less obvious. Disney parks have undercover security guards dressed as tourists walking around the park basically all the time. If security needs to talk to a park guest, only 2 people speak to them. Security guards do this in order to keep it as low-key as possible, and that makes sense because they don't want to embarrass the park's guests. Disney also has security screening guests at park entrances in an especially sneaky way. They have people, front and back, that are always watching. If they notice someone's doing something that seems suspicious, they'll immediately start following them to check out what's going on. Who knows? Maybe the surveillance is probably as good as how China keeps tabs on its citizens. Do us a real quick favor and hit that like button down there because it really helps us out. Number 9. Role-playing. At Disney, it's actually forbidden for cast members to say they, quote, played certain characters. Why? That's because the characters are, quote, real. Cast members can, however, tell someone that they hung out with characters. So, for example, you can say, I hung out with Donald Duck a lot this week, and that's how people know what character you played. Employees definitely are not allowed to post about their jobs, but at least they don't have to give up social media altogether. This happens because if you work at Disney, the most important job is to keep the Disney fantasy alive for anyone that visits. The fantasy stays real because you don't want to start disappointing kids, and that definitely does make sense. There are always 7 or 8 people walking around the park in Mickey Mouse costumes, but when someone asks how many Mickeys are there here, the answer is always 1. And if you've ever wondered why the costume characters never talk, it's because they have to stay silent in front of guests. Yep, that's right. They're never allowed to talk in costume in front of a guest, ever. Number 8. Looking the part. From hair to fingernails, Disney has a lot of requirements for the physical appearances of their employees. Women's hair needs to be in a classic style and a natural-looking color. Women actually can have highlights, but their hairstyle must be, quote, subtle, well-blended, and be over the entire head. That's according to Disney's career site. As for men, their hair can't cover their ears or be long enough to reach their shoulders. Men are allowed to have facial hair, but it has to be neat. And it can't be longer than 1/4 of an inch. Do they actually have people measuring facial hair? There are also very specific fingernail rules for employees. Fingernails can't extend beyond the fingertips, and employees cannot wear nail polish or fake nails. What about tattoos? If you actually wanted to work for Disney, you can actually have tattoos, but it has to be completely covered, whether by clothing or makeup. And how about sunglasses? Surprisingly, employees actually are not allowed to wear sunglasses, or at least sunglasses where their eyes are able to be seen. Number 7. Hidden tunnels. There are tunnels that you'll most likely never see unless you work for Disney. For example, Disney has what's called a utilidor system. Basically, it's a set of utility tunnels that takes place underground. These underground corridors allow cast members to quickly move from one place to the next without being seen. It's also for garbage to be magically whisked away out of sight for the guests. Remember, the illusion is never to be ruined at Disney. Also, at Magic Kingdom in Florida, Disney has a very unique waste removal system. The underground trash system is called AVAC, which stands for Automated Vacuum Collection System. It's an underground system of vacuum tubes with 17 collection points around Magic Kingdom. Every 15 minutes, trash is sucked through at a speed of 60 miles per hour to a compactor located behind Splash Mountain. That's where the trash is compressed and then removed from the property. Oh, and one more thing. Employees are encouraged to pick up trash if they see it, but they aren't supposed to make a big show of it. They aren't supposed to stop to pick up the trash. Instead, every employee is trained to scoop up trash while walking. Number 6. Always 2 fingers. If you've ever been to a Disney park, you've probably missed a strange thing that just about all the employees are doing: pointing with 2 fingers. Yep, that's right. They're not allowed to use only 1 finger to point. The two-finger point is part of the training for new hires at Disney. First and foremost, it's rude in general to point an index finger at someone. In several cultures, just pointing with an index finger is considered rude. In countries such as Thailand and Indonesia, pointing with just one finger is considered rude. A finger salute holds the same offense in Latin American countries as well. In many of those countries, using an open hand is the best way to draw attention to something. However, the two-fingered point is also supposedly because of Walt Disney's smoking habit. It goes back to old photos of Disney where he's shown pointing to various Disney attractions while holding a cigarette between his two fingers. In more recent years, however, Disney wanted to distance itself with the image of smoking, so the cigarettes were simply airbrushed out of Walt Disney's hands. If you're enjoying these secrets revealed on Disney, then you'll definitely want to check out our video about the true cost of our favorite things. Number 5. What's at the bottom? The Disneyland waterways, such as the Rivers of America, the Storybook Land canals of the Jungle Cruise River, have water that appears bluish-green. Is that a kind of special effect? Or it's a sign that the water is just really, really dirty? Well, it could be both. The water is dyed green intentionally. In the days of Walt Disney, he wanted you to believe that you were on a 19th century steamship or paddle wheeler and not riding on an actual track. By dyeing the water, you can't see the track because it disguises just how shallow the water actually is. As for the water being really dirty, it's kinda yes and no. The water is heavily chlorinated for harmful bacteria. Additional chemicals are also added to prevent mosquitoes from breeding. But yeah, it's still dirty in our minds since a lot of things end up in the water. Let's face it, crazy rides along with lots of food and drink is the recipe for, let's just call it, bodily fluids in the water. As an added bonus, the dyed water also keeps you from seeing what's at the bottom. Word has it, every time the rivers are drained for maintenance, workers find the most ridiculous things. We're talking crazy things such as wheelchairs, strollers, and whatever else people can accidentally lose in the water. Number 4. Hotel protest. It's been an open secret for years that Disney doesn't treat its employees very well. For example, back in 2008, Mickey Mouse, Tinkerbell, and about 1,000 of their supporting friends got sick with Disney's antics. They held a protest that held up traffic in Anaheim, California. The union, representing workers at 3 Disneyland hotels, marched from the Paradise Pier Hotel to the Disneyland entrance in an attempt to fight for better benefits. Union members that represented Disneyland workers spent months in contract talks with Disney management. This left around 3,000 workers to work without a contract while the negotiations lasted. What was the reason for the protest? It was because Disney wanted to bring in new workers at a lower wage and make them pay more per month for health care. Apparently, back then, the only reason to work for Disney was just for the health benefits. So you can imagine the backlash when Disney wanted to take it away. And you would think that Disney would be better over 10 years later, right? Nope. In 2018, Disneyland employees staged another protest, and this time it was about wages again. Disneyland still just pays many of its workers barely above minimum wage. Guess how much the CEO made in 2018? $66 million. Number 3, a magical union. The Walt Disney Company offers magical experiences for millions of families at its theme parks. When the average family spends more than $6,300 for a week-long trip to Disney World, it's no wonder Disney rakes in enormous amounts of money. Given Disney's profits, it may come as a surprise that many of the people who are in charge of making the magic happen struggle to make ends meet. Wages at Walt Disney World are 68% lower than the national average, with some positions at Disney paying as little as $13,000 per year. The company's history of management versus workers dates back to Walt Disney himself. When Disney cartoonists tried to first come together in union back in 1941, Disney would not allow it. He personally felt betrayed when famous animator Art Babbitt became a union leader. Number 2, resting place. Disney custodians find plenty of ashes to clean up. Why? Well, that's because Disney World is the preferred final resting place for plenty of people's ashes. People spread ashes of loved ones all over the place, and that's why Disney needs extremely high-powered vacuums. The one place ashes are supposedly spread the most is throughout the Haunted Mansion. According to Disney employees, about once a month is how often people spread ashes somewhere in the park. Of course, anyone caught doing this is kicked out. When any of it is discovered on a ride, Disney workers tell guests rides are shut down due to technical difficulties. Then, a manager vacuums up anything they see with their high-powered vacuums. Smugglers say getting the ashes past security is pretty easy. It's as simple as putting it in a prescription bottle or disguise it as makeup. So, how do Disney workers let their colleagues know about this specific type of cleanup? It goes under the codename HEPA, as in HEPA cleanup. Number 1. Code V. Speaking of code words, HEPA definitely isn't the only code word Disney staff use. There are plenty of other code words to let other staff know what needs to be taken care of without ruining any guest's experience. For example, when the combination of fast rides and fast food provides too much for someone, a code V is called. A cast member will also just simply warn another member that there's been a protein spill. Rude people are called treasured guests, and if you ever hear a code Winnie, get out of the pool until the pee has been cleaned up. Watch this next video to find out about the true cost of some of our favorite things.